so we're starting a new topic, right-angled trigonometry. So trigonometry is the study of triangles. Right-angled trigonometry is the study of right-angled triangles. So we're going back to what you learnt in year 8 here, which is Pythagoras Theorem. Pythagoras Theorem only works in a right-angled triangle. So it's only used for sides, okay? There's nothing to do with angles in Pythagoras Theorem. It's all to do with sides. You're looking for a side and you've been given two sides in the right-angled triangle. So when we do it, we use these letters. The C is the hypotenuse. That's the main thing you need to know. The side that's opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, and it's also the longest side of the triangle, which is helpful to know as well. Okay, so if you have a look at the formula, c squared equals a squared plus b squared. I said C was the hypotenuse. A and B are the other two sides. It doesn't matter which way round they go. All right, so in this first question, we're finding the value of the pronumeral or the letter. So we're going to see that we've got a right-angled triangle. We are dealing with three side lengths here. So we're going to use Pythagoras Theorem. So we put in C is our hypotenuse opposite the right angle. So we're going to put H in that spot. These two, 18 and 24, it doesn't matter if they go 18 squared plus 24 squared or 24 squared plus 18 squared. It won't make any difference to the answer. The next thing you're going to do is work all that out on your calculator in one go. So make sure you press 18 squared plus 24 squared equals. The calculator will give you a 900 straight away there. So now our line says h squared equals 900. We're now going to get rid of that squared so we have our letter by itself. So we come to the other side and do the opposite, which is square root of that number, which is 900. And it gives you just a whole number of 30 on your calculator. There is another way you could do this. All right? You could be looking at it as a Pythagorean triad. Now, this is normally the smarter boys will recognise this. It's hard to recognise the ones once the numbers get bigger like this, but some people will see it. If you do, you can do the working I'm about to do over here. So the 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean triad is one that's an easy one to remember, and you are expected to really learn that one. Okay, so 3, 4, 5 just means that they're the three sides in a right-angled triangle, and the 5 is the biggest one, so that is your longest side. That's your hypotenuse at the end there. So if you times every number by 6, then you're going to create multiples of these numbers and create another Pythagorean triad. So watch what happens. 3 times 6 is 18, 4 times 6 is 24, and 5 times 6 is 30. So you have created another Pythagorean triad. And look at what we had here. We had the 18, we had the 24, so the thing that was missing was the hypotenuse of 30. So you could just write down that h equals 30, put the metres on the end, straight away. So if you want to do that working and you recognise it, do it. All right, let's look at the next question. So we're trying to find our side length up here of the W. So we're going to do c squared equals a squared plus b squared because we're all looking at sides in the right-angled triangle. This is your C, your hypotenuse opposite your right angle. So we're going to put 125 in for C. All right, the other two go on the other side here. I always will write the letter first. All right, it's just easier working if you put your letter down first over there. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is move that to the other side. So because it's moving to the other side, we change the plus to a minus. And then we're just going to put all this in the calculator, and that gives you 13,321 equals W squared. So to get the W by itself, we get rid of our squared, come to the other side and do the opposite, which is square root. And then when you do your calculator there, you're going to get a decimal that's quite long. I want you to write the whole thing down, okay? After you've written it all down, just go back and have a look. They want 1 decimal place. So we're going to round to 1 decimal place. Circle that next digit after it. Because that's less than 5, this will stay as a 4. So So that's your answer, and you can put centimetres on the end of this one. All right, this next question, I'm not going to do any more practice with those ones because you've done this in Year 8, so that's just a refresher. All right, these ones, testing whether a triangle is right-angled. Some of you may have forgotten how to do this, so I'm just going to go through 2 questions on this. So in this first one, they've given you 3 side lengths. Notice they have not marked a right angle in because they're not telling you this triangle is right-angled. They want you to tell them, do you think it is? Okay, so there's no right angle being marked in. So we're going to try and work out, is this really a right angled triangle or not? Well, if it is, Pythagoras' theorem will work. So let's see what happens. We're going to say, well, is c squared equal to a squared plus b squared? And ask that question. So now we're going to put in the hypotenuse. Now, the hypotenuse, c, is normally opposite the right angle, but we don't have a right angle. But remember I told you the hypotenuse is also the longest side. So because this is the longest side, that's going to be our C. So we're going to put 50 in for C and the other 2 numbers on the other side. So now what you're going to do is you're going to work out 50 squared on your calculator. And that will give you 2500. Then you're going to go over to the other side and work out 30 squared plus 40 squared on your calculator, and that will give you 2500. So is 2500 equal to 2500? Yes, it is. Okay, so now we make the conclusion. We are going to say that it is a right-angled triangle because it satisfies Pythagoras' theorem. That just means that Pythagoras' theorem works. So that means the triangle must be right-angled. All right, let's try it on this next question. So what would be C here? There's no right angle, so it's not opposite the right angle. C would have to be the longest side. So here's your longest side. That's C. So we're going to put 121 in for C. Make sure you square it. Now we're going to put the other 2 numbers in on the other side. Make sure that you follow the rule up there. And now we're going to go to the calculator and work out the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So one at a time, we're just going to take the left-hand side first and just do 121 squared equals, and it gives you 14641. And now we're going to go to the calculator and do 85 squared plus 85 squared. And that gives us 14,450. So, do they equal each other? No, they don't. So we write a no, and then we say, well, that means then the triangle is not right-angled. And why? Because it does not satisfy Pythagoras' theorem. Okay, so you just need to ask the question, is c squared equal to a squared plus b squared? If you get a yes, then it is right-angled. If you get a no, then it's not right-angled. All right, let's have a look at the next question. We've got a part. It's in the shape of a rectangle, and they take side lengths. Whenever they talk about a shape and they haven't drawn it, you should draw it. So let's draw it. Here's our rectangle. Let's put a couple of right angles in there. Now, the sides are 96 and 72. There's the side lengths. And what are they asking for here? They've said find the shortest distance across the part from one corner to the opposite corner. So in other words, they want you to go from one corner to the opposite corner. And what's the quickest way to get there? In one straight line. So we're going to draw that in. And that's what we're looking for. Now you can see that's going to be a hypotenuse, so let's call it C. All right, so I'm going to just concentrate in this right angle triangle here. All right, now it looks like we don't have enough sides, but I'm sure you know what this one is here. It's got to be the same as the other breadth over there. So that will be a 72. Let's just put it in red pen so we can see what we've done. And now we're going to just concentrate on the red right-angled triangle to do our working. So we've got c squared equals a squared plus b squared. We don't know c, so we're going to leave that like that. Put in the two numbers into our formula. And now we're just going to be working that out on our calculator. I'll just move it up here so we can see what we're doing. Alright, so we've got c squared equals, now let's go to the calculator and work out what that is. So we're doing 72 squared plus 96 squared. And it equals 14,400. Okay, now we're trying to find c, so we need to get the c by itself. So we're going to get rid of our square. So we're going to come to the other side and do square root. Do the opposite operation of the number that's sitting there. And let's see what we get. Now, if you've left that on your calculator like I have, right, I've left that answer there. When we do this next bit, all we have to do is press square root, right, and then if you just press the answer button down here, right, you can't really see what it's doing, but press the answer button that says square root answer. That means it's square rooting the previous answer that you had, which was 14,400. So we're going to press equals now. It gives you 120. And then we're just going to write metres on the end. And that's the answer to your question. So anytime you don't have a diagram, draw one. Okay, we're coming back in the next video and we're going to do a few more examples.